Hello, YouTube. UFOs, those strange visitors from the other dimensions or other planets or other times, leave behind most unusual traces, effects, or phenomena that we really do not comprehend. My area of research is the former Russian Empire, the former Soviet Union, and Eurasia in general. So, let me tell you about some fascinating but really not fully researched cases. And also it gives me a chance to remember one of Russia's most prominent UFO researchers. He was a young trailblazer, a scientist, and author of numerous books, who passed away in 2017, Vadim Chernobrov. The village of Svetly Put, referred to on geographical maps as Svetly Put Lenina, is listed as part of the Kurchansky rural settlement of Temryuksky district, Tamань, in the Krasnodar territory, or Krai. While Krasnodar Krai, or territory Krasnodarska, is a federal subject of Russia located in the southwest of the country, part of the Southern Federal District. Krasnodar is the capital city of that region. It is located 8 kilometers from Kurchanska, 24 kilometers from Temryuk, 121 kilometers from Krasnodar. And I'm speaking about the village. The regional highway R251 passes through the village. The distance to the Azov Sea coast is about 20 kilometers. Wonderful, wonderful sea. I remember my childhood. And it's about 20 kilometers from the Black Sea. And it's about 50 kilometers from the Black Sea. In 1998, in the Temryuksky district of the Krasnodar territory, 6 people witnessed the landing of a triangular UFO in a field near the village of Svetly Put Lenina, or should be translated as Lenin's Bright Path. Fortunately, in this case, in addition to verbal evidence of what happened, there were other evidence too. On June 22nd, 1998, at about 21 hours 40 minutes, local residents noticed that two bright blue stars appeared in the sky. At first, they just glowed while in place, but then at the same time, they all started flying about. Due to the high flight speed, the residents of the Lenin's Bright Path village could not follow the strange phenomenon. But those who were near the Kurchansky estuary not only noticed bright blue lights in the sky, but also how they landed. The distance to the landing site is about 2 kilometers. While the witnesses were running to the scene of the incident, the object ascended into the sky and sped away. The last thing they managed to see were triangular outlines and numerous blue lights, which also turned out to be triangular in shape. In the morning, many residents of the nearby settlements had already become aware of the mysterious case. The witnesses of the spectacle willingly took those who wished to see it to the landing site. It turned out that where the triangular UFO landed, there was a characteristic imprint. Even the skeptics who came to the vicinity of Lenin's Bright Path and also the village of Kurchanska noted that something incomprehensible had clearly happened there. The fact is that a month later, the plants inside the landing site began to grow several times faster than all the surrounding vegetation. Visiting researchers, ufologists, and enthusiasts could not identify any reason for the phenomenal growth. The composition of the soil has not changed, and it was also not possible to record any radiation. But the plant samples taken did show increased regeneration. For 3 years, trees have grown at the UFO landing site, and surprisingly, for the plants themselves, 1 year was considered to be equal to 4 years. The number of rings when cutting one of the trees was 12. Since 2002, the growth rate has slowed down, and by 2009, fully equaled the surrounding The accelerated growth came to naught, so to say, and the mysterious UFO never appeared there again. Well, you see, a similar situation with a triangular UFO was described by Vadim Chernobrov in the early 2000s on the Medveditskaya Ridge, and you can find description of what's going on the Medveditskaya Ridge in my videos about the tunnels and underground realms and so forth. I have a few videos on the subject. You see, at that place too, the landing site was unreasonably quickly overgrown with tall trees and dense shrubs. Unfortunately, despite documented cases of UFO landings and further unexplained accelerated growth process in plants, it was not possible to find out the nature of this phenomena and the causes. Vadim Chernobrov himself said about this, this is another proof that humanity knows only a small part of the laws by which the world around us exists. But same year, same territory, Ust-Labinsk, something else happened. So at the beginning of June of 1998, a complex pictogram appeared in the wheat field of the collective farm Russia between Ust-Labinsk and the village of Nekrasovskaya. Agronomists initially decided that these were the consequences of too much fertilizer, but still scientists were inclined to believe that the signs on the fields were left by representatives of extraterrestrial civilizations. They did not have time to make accurate measurements of the circles. However, according to eyewitnesses, they were 55 by 50 meters. At the same time, more than one person claimed to have witnessed abnormal phenomena. Vasily Mikhailenko, a collective farm watchman, said that about 3 o'clock in the morning he was returning from the stables to the village of Nekrasovskaya when, according to him, a UFO flew over him. And that was according to the Kosmopoisk, Chernobrov's UFO and paranormal phenomena research organization. Two girls said that the saucer did not land on the field, and two humanoid creatures smoothly descended along the light poles of the searchlights, and they went for a walk under the bottom of the UFO, according to them. The place itself, next to which the circle appeared, was considered cursed by the villagers because of the nocturnal visions that had been there before. So this was not the only case. And here's a very interesting case from November of 2007. You see, we know that the number of places where anomalous phenomena regularly occur in Russia has exceeded way more than 100. But some of the most unusual events occurred that year in the Krasnodar Cryo territory. There was a UFO actually attacking people. The Argumenty I Fakty special correspondent, that it's a Russian newspaper, visited the center of the alien incident. Here's what the eyewitness told the newspaper, and I'll just read the statement. It all happened at 4:10 a.m. I usually go to the farm at this time, alone on a bicycle, and then I accidentally met a friend, also a milkmaid, and we're going together. And suddenly in front of us, over the handlebars of bicycles, there seemed to be long sparks, like tracer bullets in the movies, only bright green with blue flashes. They crossed the highway and flew off into the darkness, into the field. At the same time, the sound of, like she said, 222 was heard. We got scared and got up. A friend whispered, "Are they really fireflies?" And I was like, "It doesn't look like it." We slowly rolled on, but did not have time to drive 20 meters as the shelling was repeated, the woman said. Then the women pressed the pedals and raced down the road. They came to their senses 100 meters later. they saw something like a burning lantern. I looked around and was stunned. Where we had just been shelled, a light, bright green glowing ball hung over the houses and trees. And when they turned into a forest plantation, the sphere had already disappeared, the milkman added. Her husband, after the incident, came to the local administration with a complaint. The devil is loose, and asked to protect his wife. He was genuinely afraid that she may be stolen. They write that aliens kidnap people, he said. She herself was also scared and throws up her hands instead of talking about more accounts. A local researcher of anomalous phenomena, Alexander Chudskoy, was not surprised by the milkmaid's tale. Novokubansk is a chosen place, the center of an anomalous zone, paranormal zone, with a diameter of about 100 kilometers. From the sea and the mountains, it is surrounded by a parabola of prehistoric megaliths, the dolmens. And you had a chance to look at my other videos about the dolmens in that area. Very interesting. According to one account, their builders could use these structures as a single energy complex, like a global computer to control gravity, teleportation, and even as a weapon, according to Alexander Chudskoy. And it's true that the extraordinary flights, the glow from them is almost routine, and but there have not been any attacks prior to 2007 as yet. So that's according to Argumente and Fakti newspaper. As a result, the light phenomena precede the appearance of mysterious circles and pictographs, which previously made famous, in the farms of England and Central Europe. It happened after midnight, according to Chudskoy, or before dawn. More than once, people have seen whitish lights like fireballs circling over the field. And the next morning, they found drawings there, so to say. Another detail, circles appear not only in the fields of rye and wheat, but in general on everything that grows: sunflower, beetroot, alfalfa, ordinary grass, soil in the form of opaline, and even in winter and snow. Another feature, signs from above, so to say, are found not in the wilderness, but in plain sight, next to highways. Weeds inside the circle snake around the grains. It is impossible to do this manually, and the crushed ears themselves do not ripen for a long time, presenting a rejuvenating effect. Heads of local farms give orders. As soon as something like this appears, it is urgent to mow the grass up the side, in order to avoid crowds of curious people who can trample the entire field down. There is a more important reason. Farmers are afraid that the demand for grain will fall because of the devil. According to the newspaper, the number of places where anomalous phenomena now regularly occurs in Russia has exceeded 100. So they agree with researchers. But the most mystical, so to say, point of the country today, meaning 2007, the publication noted, were the fields of Pre-Kubань at the junction of Stavropol and Krasnodar Krai. Kubань, I need to explain, is a historical and geographical region of southern Russia, surrounding the Kubань River on the Black Sea between the Don Steppe or Savannah, the Volga Delta, and the Caucasus, and separated from the Crimean Peninsula to the west by the Kerch Strait. Krasnodar Krai is often referred to as Kubань, both officially and unofficially, although the term is not exclusive to the territory, to the Krai, and accommodates the republics of Adygea, Karachay-Cherkessia, and parts of the Stavropol Krai. This is where Mikhail Gorbachev is from, by the way, so that you know Stavropol. Also, in my books about Soviet ufology, I mention declassified American documents from the State Department years ago, and how they reported on the a large number of cases of UFOs in the region, in the Stavropol region, and their reasons for it. Very interesting. You can find it in my books too. Almost no one ever talked. I've not seen anybody talk about it. And sometimes my research, of course, is borrowed by so-called, honest researchers. But this was a really interesting find. You can find it in my books. Unidentified objects at different times and under different circumstances left their traces in the Ust-Labinsk district, wheat field in the village of Tenginska, also in the village of Nekrasovska back in 1998. I mentioned that in the same year, near the village of Nekrasovska, Ust-Labinsk district, eyewitnesses observed UFOs over a field, after which circles of crushed ears remained in that place. The time of appearance of the circles was recorded in June at night. There are more accurate data. For example, it is known that in June and in September of 1990, crop circles were found in Yeisk, in 2004 in Gulkevichi and Stanitsa Pavlovskaya. One of the best, in my opinion, Russian researchers of the 1990s, Yuri Stroganov, whom I mentioned in my books, is from Yeisk. And I don't know if he's anymore active, but he was many years ago, and provided most interesting information to me, which I put in my books, and it was translated back into Russian in the Russian Federation, different newspapers, because of the military interactions with UFOs. And he was a very, very decent and tenacious researcher. So, are crop circles alien hieroglyphs? There are many hypotheses. The most common, it is also the most fantastic. Circles are space forts, space fields, so to say, for landing alien equipment, which are combined into a huge energy network. This was what Vladimir Chemrobrov was saying. Another account, another hypothesis. Pictograms are some kind of cosmic messages from intelligent beings like us that we need to decipher. Some researchers believe that UFOs are actually some kind of high-energy formations, such as ball lightning, which are known to have a high temperature. Incandescent plasma clouds can leave traces on the grass. But why in such perfect shapes? Well, the academician of the Russian Academy of Sciences, Vlail Kaznachev, believed that this is one of the manifestations of paranormal activity of the atmosphere, the so-called geomagnetic capsules, with a certain combination of weather conditions and the presence of faults and depressions in a given area. The Earth's magnetic field twists as in a frenzied dance, and a drawing comes to the surface, which we assume or interpret as the writing of aliens. However, most of the towns of the people hold the opinion that all this is just tricks of pranksters, according to Chernobrov. He and his colleagues from the Kosmopoisk knew about 10 signs of pictograms on the margins that, in the area that were not made by a human being. But he would not talk about them so that people would not be tempted to fake them also. However, Chernobrov talked about one case, and there was the most striking difference. No one could imitate it anyway. The fact was that if the ears are trampled with their feet, they will definitely get up again. Or if a person would overdo it, they would simply break. The real circles are drawn with ears bent so neatly as if they were plasticine, and someone specially gave them the right shape. Moreover, not only ears of corn take this shape, mushrooms and trees also turned out to be curved. There are so many more interesting cases from the area that I could go on, but there's not enough time to talk in one video about Kuban and what's going on out there. I did put some of Chernobrov's drawings and photograph there too as well, so you can see it. But again, this is one of the areas that few people outside of Russia know about, and I don't know how many people in Russia pay attention to it, but they should. It's a very interesting area, and a lot has taken place there. In the times where we could record information, remember, there were people who were conquered by the Russian Empire in the area, thrown out, forced out also, but they had their own stories and cases which are gone. Nobody wrote it down. But at least today we can take photographs. So something interesting is going on in that area, and I'm hoping that someday we will find out more. I knew years ago British researcher of the so-called crop circles, and we actually were in Brazil together, and we traveled together, our families, and also doing some research on my part. It was very interesting, the stories he told me about the United Kingdom, but I've done some of the research on the crop circles, and you can find it in my books, but it's people like Vadim Chernobrov and his organization who have been very active in this and had collected a number of interesting data, which is yet to be really studied and interpreted. So one day, hopefully, we'll find out the answer. This is what I wanted to let you know, and if you like my research, please look at the links in the description to this video if you can help. And please tell others about my channel. Please like my videos and please subscribe.